Hey, what is going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas with you on a Saturday. We try to hop on here every Saturday to talk all things weather, and there is a lot of stuff going on from flooding rain in parts of the eastern and western Caribbean. We're going to break that down, and then also a couple of coast-to-coast storms that will be moving through over the next week. Some of that is happening right now in terms of very heavy rain in the deep south and then heavy snow in the Sierras. And then next week, also in the deep south, really, as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, the opportunity for some flooding is going to be there. The opportunity for some very strong thunderstorms, potential for a severe weather outbreak in places like East Texas, into Arkansas, the deep south, Mississippi, Alabama, places that would typically see, unfortunately, severe weather in the month of November or early December, as we're going to have a lot of juice, if you will, in the atmosphere. Let me know where you are watching from. That would be awesome. We're going to talk again all things weather, and let me know where you want to focus on. I'll let you guys drive here, and we'll break down what you want to talk about. Again, we have snow in the west, we have rain in the deep south, and then, of course, we have the flood threat in the Caribbean. So those top three things. The first thing that we are going to start with, since I'm on the screen already, is going to be this huge system that is likely going to be impacting travel today and tomorrow if you're trying to come home for Thanksgiving, from Thanksgiving. It's that swirl here. That's our upper low that's hanging out over Texas. You see all the green here on the water vapor. This is all of the moisture that is just surging in from the Gulf of Mexico up into the deep south. On the backside of this, we had some heavy snow in eastern New Mexico and West Texas yesterday. The snow portion of this has mainly shut off, and now we're just talking about all of that colder air, or all of that moisture associated with that system sliding on through and sliding up into parts of the deep south. So keep that in mind. We're going to be dealing with some very, very heavy rain here. Now, over the next couple of days, I will show you where this starts to move, and it's really going to be all the way into the Northeast. So if you're planning on flying or driving into the Northeast tomorrow, that's where we're going to have the potential for some backups. The other thing is, if you are used to flying, typically when Atlanta is impacted by thunderstorms, it messes up everybody's day, no matter what part of the country you are flying in, because it's a major hub, it's a major area for layovers and things like that. So just keep that in mind, that we are expecting that to happen tomorrow. So here we go. This is early in the morning at least. So this is going to be 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And the good news is, I think a lot of those storms do cross in overnight and by sunrise tomorrow. So if you have an early flight, that may be the highest impact in terms of any kind of flights in the Atlanta area. But this is now 7 o'clock, and now there's Atlanta right about in there. Most of the storms now are to the east and then sliding out that way. The heaviest rain at this point, really through the afternoon, is going to occur really as we get into Sunday afternoon into the Northeast. So there we go, Sunday afternoon into the evening. This is looking at about 6 p.m. So places like New York City, Boston, into Maine. There's Maine, there's Boston. That's where we will be impacted tomorrow in terms of the heavy rain, and then that will continue into parts of the Great Lakes region as well. So that is system number one. We're going to get to system number two in a second, unless I have any questions on system number one, because I want to focus on the Caribbean as well, because we have some very heavy rainfall happening as we speak in especially Trinidad and Tobago. And that has really been where the issues have been in the Caribbean, over the last couple of weeks. So here we go. This is a look now into the future. This is going to be a couple of hours from now. And actually, before we get into that, I will show you what is going on here on the current satellite loop. So I'm going to change the satellite sector. So just bear with me for a second as we wait for a few more people to join as well. I'm going to take you into the Caribbean and just some nasty, nasty weather. Again, it's nothing tropically organized. We're not talking about a named system or anything like that, but it is bringing some very heavy rain. So this is the water vapor imagery. Port of Spain, we've been dealing with very heavy rain. Again, this is going to lead to potential for some mudslides, some flash flooding. Northern Caribbean, our weather has been great. You see this yellow on the water vapor imagery? This is the dry air that's just kind of hanging out here. So the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, it's been great. Different story, though. In Trinidad and Tobago, some of the ABC islands, we have been getting in on the very heavy rain. There we go with that moisture plume. Again, that flare-up, this tropical wave that, again, is moving through. Again, it's not going to be a tropical storm, not going to be a tropical depression, but it's still bringing some very heavy rainfall into parts of the Windward Islands, mainly Trinidad and Tobago. Hetty, what is going on, my man? Thanks for tuning in. As always, you are getting some very nice weather in Puerto Rico, at least some dry weather right now. The yellow on your screen there representing the dry air that is working through the Northern Caribbean. It's very, very different in terms of the weather going on between the Northern Caribbean and Southern Caribbean. So we are going to continue to deal with this flare-up of thunderstorms in and around the Windward Islands, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines also getting in on these very gusty thunderstorms pushing through. We're also seeing that, though, in Central America, Nicaragua. We are getting rocked with some stronger thunderstorms, some very heavy rain. This will no doubt lead to some flash flooding. The potential's there for mudslides. And again, this system is not named either. It's just very heavy rain. It's not tropical in nature at this time, and it's not going to be either. So it's just some very heavy rain. When I say just, it means it's not a center of low pressure or anything like that, but it is going to be impactful for us in Nicaragua. Puerto Cabezas, we are dealing with the heavy rain in Bluefields, up into Belize. My friends in Belize, good morning. Almost good afternoon now. Or just about good afternoon. You're an hour behind me in Florida, so it's still good morning technically in Belize. I hope you guys are doing well and recovering after Lisa, but we are getting some of that heavy rain as well. Eddie asks if I had some turkey for Thanksgiving. You know, I did not have turkey this year. I did eat a lot of mashed potatoes, though. What did you have? Did you have some turkey? I would love to know what you guys had. And I'd love to know if you're traveling, if anybody is trying to get back home after Thanksgiving. That was, for the most part, nice. I know East Texas, we were dealing with a very heavy rainfall, but most of the United States was very nice weather-wise. Now, not so much. We're going to get rounds 2 and 3 of these big systems that are going to slide through over the next couple of days. So, Trinidad and Tobago, we are focused on you right now because we are seeing the heaviest rain moving through. So again, just keep that in mind, that be on the lookout not only for the rest of today, but into tomorrow, we're going to be dealing with this. I want to show you now a model forecast if you're watching from Trinidad. And let me know where you're watching from. I would love to know where you guys are tuning in from when we can talk about the weather where you live. Going to get off of this now and show you what we can expect over the next couple of days. So here's the deal. What we're looking at, and I'll zoom closer to Trinidad and Tobago. This is the model forecast picking up on where we could see some thunderstorms. So this is now overnight into Sunday. So we're still dealing with this on Sunday. That yellow there representing a very high chance for thunderstorms, certainly that red bullseye there. All those little ticks that you see, those little white little markers, those are lightning strikes. So that's the model forecasting the lightning strikes as well. Let me clear the screen, and then we're going to go forward in time, and I'll show you that we're still under the influence of these thunderstorms, of this tropical wave, as we move into tomorrow. So this is now at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Trinidad and Tobago, getting up into Barbados as well. St. Lucia, we're going to be kind of on the northern end of this, so we'll see a few thunderstorms sneak through. And then I think finally after Sunday, things are going to pipe down a little bit. We're going to still be dealing with, I think, a few scattered thunderstorms on Monday. But watch what happens now as we get into Tuesday. This is Tuesday morning. Some of that drier air starts to push in, and then really by the middle of the week. So gradually with each passing day in the Windward Islands and Trinidad and Tobago, we are drying things out. So that is some good news for us in Trinidad. So now we're going to go to the other side of the Caribbean, because this is a two-part thing. And forget about it in the northern Caribbean. Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Martinique. Things are looking very nice for us weather-wise. And then they even get a little nicer as we work into next week. So let me clear off my telestration. And I am going to take us now into Central America. And if anybody wants to talk about other weather across the United States or the Caribbean, just let me know. Post it in the comments. We will break that down for you. Notice, though, by Thursday, we are still talking about some rain sliding through. And this is primarily, really, this is all because of the intertropical convergence zone, which will gradually shift south as we get deeper into the winter. And then that'll go further. It'll follow the sun. And so we will see that over time. I love it, Eddie. He says, no turkey, just chicken. Hey, chicken is great. And there we go. See, he's on the Come Visit Puerto Rico committee. I love it. It's a great place to be, especially as we're talking about more cold coming through on the northern tier of the country. So just keep that in mind. But basically, here is what I'm talking about with the ITCZ. This is the model forecast, and that stands for Intertropical Convergence Zone. So again, these are not named systems, but you see the wind coming out of the south and east and from the southern hemisphere. And then you have the trade winds coming off of Africa here. And what that does is they converge, they come together, and they force up these showers and thunderstorms right where the wind comes together. So that is why we continue to have the parade of thunderstorms in the northern South America, towards Venezuela, the ABC Islands, Trinidad and Tobago especially, and then that'll continue into Central America as well, where notice that we have been mainly dry. Can you tell I love the new telestrator? I love the telestration. It's so fun. We've been mainly dry up in the northern tier of the country. So I also talked about some snow, and that is going to start to generate as we move into the latter stages of tonight. Look at the top of your screen here on the model forecast. We have the wind coming out of right off the Pacific that's going to help to force up some snow in the Sierra Nevadas. I'll give you a closer look and take you kind of hour by hour. So some very good snow coming to the Sierras. If you have not seen the winter weather outlook that I put out last week or about 10 days ago now, I guess, it basically talks about that I do think the Sierras are going to get crushed with snow this year. This is one of the spots that we typically see in a La Nina to be wetter than normal, and it's already panning out as we get ready to move into December. Note all of the heavy snow coming down the pipeline, especially into the higher elevations. I mean, we're talking about a foot or two of snow in the Sierra Nevadas. We have winter storm warnings in place. Some of that snow then pushes into Idaho. This is Sunday afternoon now, and into western Montana, Missoula, going to get in on some of the heavy snow as well. And then really that continues into parts of the Sierra Nevadas right in here. Those are the Cascades, I should say. I think I may have said Sierras before. I meant to say Cascades, of course, in Washington. My bad. And then the Sierra Nevadas, of course, are in California. We're going to get in on some of that as well. So if you live in those areas, if you want some snow, you have it coming for you. And then, yeah, it was last week at this time that we were tracking the snow off of Lake Erie and really all of the Great Lakes. And at that point, we were talking about 70 inches of snow. They found 7 more inches with that last push just to the south and east of Buffalo. So just some crazy stuff there. If you weren't following that, you missed out on some insane weather video. There was thunder snow. There was all of the above. I mean, there were people that literally had to dig themselves out of their homes. Just crazy stuff going on in that part of the world off of the Great Lakes. In terms of how much, you see where that pink is popping up, and this is going to be really starting late tonight in the Sierra Nevadas, and then working its way into Sunday afternoon. So there is 2 o'clock, and where you see the pink color, that's what we're talking about, more than a foot of snow. When it gets even brighter, that's when you're talking about over 2 feet. So the maximum here, you see that up in the top of your screen, 37.5 inches. That's going to be right in here. That's where we're going to see that. So in the highest elevations of the Cascades, that's where we will see the most snow. And that's all because of our next system that's going to be a coast-to-coast deal and could really be nasty. I made a video on this last night, so if you haven't seen that, love for you to check it out. And if you are new to the channel, I see we have a bunch of extra people watching now. We would love to have you on board if you're a fan of tracking the weather, if you're talking about it or just want to be informed about the weather. We would love to have you give this video a like. It helps us out a lot. And consider subscribing. We talk all things weather from the Caribbean to most of the lower 48. We even talked about the Philippines once. We had a lot of questions about the Philippines when we had one of the typhoons impacting the area. Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate that. Yeah, we decided to call it that because we track all things weather. We go from the cold to the warm to the tropics to the snow. So kind of whiplash. So thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for helping to grow this channel, Eddie. We are thankful for you and thankful for everybody. And I would love to know where you guys are tuning in from if you are just joining. But again, if you want to track the weather with us, please hit that subscribe button. We have a lot of fun on this channel when we're not tracking destructive stuff. And thankfully, the hurricane season is winding down. Just 4 days to go now in hurricane season officially. Of course, we can always get late season development or post season development. But the good news is that there is nothing imminent, and there are no indications of anything developing out of the intertropical convergence zone over the next week or so. It looked like we might have a shot at about this time, but it stayed rooted in the ITCZ that we talked about, and I'm no longer expecting anything to get a name or to become a depression, but some very heavy rain is going to continue for the Caribbean islands, the southern Caribbean islands, unfortunately. For all of the newcomers, for all of the new people that have just joined, welcome. I would appreciate you let me know what you're watching so we can have the conversation. I like to have the conversation with you guys, and you can post where you're watching from in the comments. Eddie, you the man. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you, as always, for that. And one last look here before I let you guys go of the Caribbean, as we will continue to deal with that very heavy rain really for one more day in Trinidad and Tobago. And then really as we get into Monday, we start to dry things back out. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to see continued improvements in your weather. So finally, we're going to shut off the weather that has been extremely wet. If you live there, you know what I'm talking about. I know I have a lot of people that tune in from Trinidad and Tobago. So welcome if you are watching. I know I have some friends in Jamaica as well that tune in all the time. Jamaica, we are looking good. We are in the clear from everything. That is all to our south. And that's how it is going to stay for the foreseeable future. It's always a pleasure, Eddie. Thank you for tuning in again. Have a great afternoon. We will catch you next time. Really appreciate you tuning in and let me know where you guys are watching from this morning. So that is going to continue. One other thing and we're going to continue to watch this specifically over the next couple of days, is going to be the potential for a severe weather outbreak in the deep south. This is what's going to steal the headlines really over the next few days and into next week, is going to be the chance for severe weather. There's some timing differences. This is something that we are going to fine tune over the next few days. But the Storm Prediction Center, in a rare occurrence, has already outlooked. They started the outlook 2 days ago. Typically, they do their 3-day outlook. And then if they have higher confidence in day 4 to 8, they'll highlight an area. What I'm trying to get at is that we already have that highlight. I'm going to bring back up, that's over Trinidad and Tobago, but I want to show you, I'll turn on the severe weather highlight here from the Storm Prediction Center to show you. And not only is it a highlight, but it is a 30% highlight as well into places like Alexandria in Louisiana, Shreveport, Little Rock, into western Tennessee, Memphis, Jackson, Mississippi. There are still going to be some timing differences, and there are still going to be some location differences that will need to be fine-tuned over the next few days. But it is looking likely that we are going to have a shot here at some pretty nasty weather as we get into Tuesday and into Wednesday, and especially Tuesday evening. I think really I think we might see this shift a little bit this way, just a smidge, depending upon what time it hits. And for that, we're going to look at the latest model run here. This is going to be the European, and it is all about this dip in the jet stream. So really now, this is going to be Tuesday night. So this is about 7, 8 o'clock on Tuesday night, Central Time. And if I have anybody watching from the Deep South or Southern Plains, I would love to know. Please post that in the comments. Please give this a like. And please consider subscribing. We're going to keep you posted on this. This is the dip in the jet stream that we are watching. We'll take all the noise out in terms of the colors that are just on the screen. This big area of high pressure also has a say. This is staying anchored over Cuba and over South Florida. And what this is doing is helping to pump in very warm, moist air, unseasonably humid air into parts of the North Gulf Coast and deep south. So when this colder air that's surging in and this dip in the jet stream meets up with it, that's where we would typically have the nasty weather, right in that battle zone there. So from East Texas into Louisiana and then into parts of Mississippi, Alabama. Those are going to be the main areas that we are going to watch. So we'll take this into motion here, and it looks like, unfortunately, this really starts to ramp up the later we get into Tuesday. I think we're going to have storms around East Texas, East Oklahoma, West Arkansas, West Louisiana as we move into Tuesday afternoon, but it's really Tuesday evening, unfortunately. That's always the worst after the sun goes down. We all know it if you live in that area. We deal with it all the time. Unfortunately, those late night rounds of thunderstorms, really, especially as we get into parts of Alabama, Mississippi. We see that happen a lot. But there we go. Now, the one positive thing, I guess, relatively speaking, at this point, the latest Euro keeps the trough positively tilted. So you see the dip in the jet stream here. It's more of a neutral to maybe even positive. When we're looking at the really nasty stuff, and again, it had been showing a bit of a negative tilt, so we'll see if a trend like that continues. Where's my trash can? Clear the telestration off. But right back in here, that's where we have some of the worst stuff. And again, the stage is going to be set for the colder air that's pushing in behind this system to interact with the very moist, I know everybody hates that word, very unstable air mass that this upper level ridge is going to be pumping in. It's going to be anchored there, it's going to be rooted there, and it's going to just chill there. And what happens around high pressure, you have clockwise airflow, and that just is going to pump in all of that humidity, that fuel, if you will, for any storm that gets going triggered by this dip in the jet stream here to work with. So certainly some of the ingredients are going to be there. And I know we're about to get into December, but the one thing is the weather doesn't care what month it is. If the ingredients are there, the ingredients are there. And we certainly are going to have that to some degree as we get into Tuesday into Wednesday. Then we have a few more people that have just turned on. Welcome to the channel. We try to go live every Saturday and break down the weather across the country. If you are new to the channel, welcome. We would love to have you on board. If you are a fan of tracking weather and talking about it, I would love to know what the weather is doing right now where you are. We can take a look to wherever you are tuning in from. We like to let you guys kind of drive and dictate what the weather is or where we break down the weather. So please hit the subscribe button, post in the comments where you're watching from, and then we can continue this weather conversation. And then things try to pipe down. And really, so if you're just tuning in, we talked about the winter forecast, and I haven't pinned my, at least, thoughts on the winter forecast for the upcoming winter. And I know you can argue we've already had winter in spots. Buffalo, I'm looking at you, in a lot of the Great Lakes. But I don't know that we're going to be able to sustain a ton of cold, at least to start. We're going to have this first batch pushing in, and then look what happens. So as we go further out in time here, I'm going to turn my trusty telestration back on. This big ridge of high pressure expands its influence, kind of moves west into Mexico, and then builds. So this helps to kind of flatten out the jet stream a little bit. That's going to help to force the cold air further to the north into Canada. And not only is that not good for snow lovers and cold lovers, just because we're not injecting that Canadian or Arctic air from the north, of course, down into the lower 48. But the air out over the water is really warm in the Pacific, and we're going to be bringing in some of the warmer air that resides over the warmer water in the Pacific as well. So I think we're going to have some trouble sustaining cold outbreaks, at least to start. In the video, which I have posted and pinned to the top of the live stream here, is there the top of the chat, we talk about when I think winter is going to officially arrive. And I'm talking about the core of the winter. I know we just had a record-breaking snow event in Buffalo, but that doesn't count because it was in November. So we're talking about December, January, and February, those 3 months. November is typically your time to get crushed along the Great Lakes because for that lake effect snow, the lakes have to be not frozen. The difference in temperature between the lake and the air mass going over it needs to be maximized. And of course, once the lakes freeze over, you don't get that, and it shuts off the lake effect season. So November is pretty much primo lake effect time. And we saw that last week. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate the support. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. We would love to have you on board. Again, we track and talk all things weather across the United States, into the Caribbean mostly. And I love getting your reports on what you're seeing. It helps us tell the story here and let other people know what is coming their way. So please hit that subscribe button, and I would love to know where you're tuning in from, and I would love to know what the weather is doing where you live. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.